Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing today? And welcome to the second episode of the Nexus podcast. We've already done our introductions. Y'all know who we are. I'm Mr. G,
Asian X.
The bishop.
and we are here today. So today we're gonna talk about episode 2 of season 1 of Charmed. I've got you under my skin. This episode, we see them go up against Javna. We see Piper struggle with her new status as a witch. We see Phoebe out here being Phoebe. So, what were some of y'all's thoughts about the episode? How did you feel about it?
It was funny and a little bit trifling for the lottery thing, which we discussed last episode. Because my thing with the lottery thing is she got the vision and, she gave the numbers to the old couple. But what if she didn't? What if she just played the lottery for herself? Like, what would even be the point of her getting a vision? Like, the whole her getting a vision really depended on her helping the old couple. But she could have easily been like, nah. Or she might not even know that she was supposed to help the old couple. Her being selfish is actually what helped her. She was like, well, she didn't even think about personal gain. She was like, I don't play the lottery. But might well get this old couple some money too.
And it's so
And then
interesting
she
because it's like, what is the point of good magic giving these people like $1 million? I didn't understand. I know magic is they're supposed to help the innocent and all of that, but if magic is just out here giving people $1 million, then point me in the direction of some kind of witch because I
Right.
need to
hmm
my life.
who picks the people? Like, how do they randomly select people? Just on a Tuesday, we're gonna go with the white woman at the bus stop. Like, how do you just pick who gets the numbers to win?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then is this something that any witch with premonition could do? I don't know. It just felt like there was no purpose other than to teach her personal gain. That's what I always kind of got from it, was like the purpose was to teach her personal gain and very early on show us that they can't just use their powers in any kind of way, even though low key everybody else did. And it feels very Phoebe exclusive that we can't use our powers for personal gain. I could very much be tripping, but that's what it was given.
Didn't
But
didn't Prue
the
use them in the elevator? That was personal gain, kinda.
yeah. The weirdest thing about, that lesson applying to Phoebe is that she couldn't just get a premonition when she wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So like if they're sending her the premonitions, like just make sure they're not the ones that she could gain from monetarily. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not like she just grabbed a lotto ticket and just
Yes,
calling for a premonition.
yes. It's not like this is like later in the season, Phoebe that learned how to call for him and was like, okay, all right, bet. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this. Like she was getting them at random, so it just
You
good magic is so stupid.
it's like out of all those premonitions that she was getting, like this is the one for personal gain, the
Mm-hmm.
one where I can win millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. Like, what if she randomly got a vision? Because, and then, we know at certain points it's tied to psychic energy and whatever else, which is another reason why I
Yeah.
kind of feel like her power was all over the place in terms of how they presented it. So it's like it could have been from one source, but it felt like it was from multiple, like the seer sent her a vision one time. She was able to share
Yeah.
visions. Apparently, the elders were sending her visions. She could get them based on psychic energy in the room. So, like, what if there was a lot of psychic energy around like a bank vault or something like that, and she randomly got the combination to the bank vault? Like, then what? Where are we going from there?
That's a good point.
They just
Anywhere that the plot needed us to go that week.
that part, that
Right.
part. But then Max, she didn't have no premonition about Max. Max had to reach out. See, nope, I'm not even gonna say it. We'll talk about that later because mm,
which is which is wild because they also sent Leo to make sure that Prue got the message
yes.
where like when you have a witch can get visions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's not like Phoebe couldn't know because Leo was telling her all about it.
Exactly. Exactly. And this episode, I was telling y'all earlier, this episode actually has one of my favorite like Phoebe moments because I feel like Phoebe is one of my favorite characters in retrospect. Like when I really sit down and think about it, because early Phoebe was very street smart. She was like
Mm-hmm.
your regular, Piper could be a good POV character for the people who like didn't want to be a witch, just wanted to be normal. Phoebe definitely was a POV character because she genuinely was a real person. When Phoebe had that premonition of Javna killing her, and she dropped everything in her hands. She didn't drop, she threw down everything in her hands and she booked it to that van, to the mystery machine and said, I'm gonna go. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm fixing to get up out of here. And then again, this is another thing where we are talking about how ghetto it used to be back in the day. A charm is having to run back to this van that's not even hers, that's through it. And John is waiting in the back seat. What are we doing? This is foolishness.
And how did he know that she was going to be in? Like, how did he know she was coming back to the van? Was he in there the whole time?
But and it's like of course he had magic, but they could have showed him like they
They could
should
have
have
showed him
showed
getting in
a
the
puff of
van.
smoke or something. Like this man, I feel like Jobna like walked out the building
Like Ghostface.
like Ghostface and like sat in the car. There was no magical means that he got in there. I genuinely feel like he just walked out, like locked the door behind him, and, and then got in the van.
Oh my gosh.
This is crazy.
They probably couldn't afford it. They were really, really scrimping and scraping that first season.
Listen, listen, listen. I feel like Phoebe. I feel like Phoebe's power probably didn't cost that much because they were just like
No.
splicing,
But
scenes together, and they were like, okay, cool. Piper's to me probably cost the most because of the animation.
well, not at first because they were just having those people just stand there.
They were. Yes.
because because even in season 2, 'cause I remember the episode where they turned them all, where Phoebe turned everyone into animals, and Prue and Piper fought the snake and the rabbit in the parking lot. When one of the dudes jumped on top of her and Piper froze him, and you could just see him moving. Like he's just trying to stay
Yep.
there, but he's crossed over. You can just see
There's a
he's
few
trying his
episodes.
best.
You can see people
Yeah,
moving.
because the one with the girl Aviva, which is funny because that's the only episode where Andy and Leo met. But when Piper had froze them while Leo was holding the popcorn, you could see them moving.
Ghetto. Ghetto.
It's like when Piper froze Dan to test if he was a warlock. I remember him being still, and then like when she went to prick his hand, I remember like his hand kind of trembling a little bit. I don't know. I think I might be misremembering because I genuinely remember that moment.
Yeah, it probably was like that. Yeah, because they needed to do something in real time. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
everything gets to shaking.
You can see like the little bit of the person moving. The plate would be moving just at the corner a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then
They
later
did the
on,
best they
like,
could.
and I love when they would do little stuff like when she froze the cake in season 6 when Paige threw it at her, and then she grabbed it
Yeah,
out of midair. I don't know why. I just love little moments like that where it seemed like
yeah.
magic
Mm-hmm.
was just normal. It was just I don't know. It was so cute.
Yeah. I enjoyed the freezing power, and I wish we'll talk about that way later. But there's a lot of times where it's like you forgot that you even have this power because sometimes all you need to do is freeze them. You don't need to blow them up.
Oh baby, when Mama got
Right.
that exploding
Just
power,
freeze
that was
them.
it. She forgot she could freeze them. She forgot she was a
Mhm.
refrigerator
James
because
pointed out there's a whole season she didn't freeze a single person.
It
yes.
was just like 4 episodes. Like this is your main power.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not using it.
And
Yeah,
that was
maybe
cheaper
that's,
than the blowing up.
You
and
would
I
think.
wonder that's why like it never really got as powerful as like we saw it in the future because she just wasn't using it.
And we do
It
know
did.
that exercising your power is a thing in this
Mm-hmm.
universe because Grams made that point, and then Piper lost control when she was pregnant. Now, of course, she was pregnant, but you know
Yeah.
that was a whole other issue. But obviously, it shows that you can,
Mm-hmm.
strengthen the power, lose control of it, whatever.
Prue helped her when she was like, "Have you ever thought about just unfreezing his head?"
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Well, let's give it a try,
Uh,
and it worked.
And she was the one that had her selectively freezing people. Like,
uh,
Prue's doing more with the
and
freeze
the one,
than Piper was.
and yeah, and Prue was also the first one to suggest that Piper unfreeze just one person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Bane, when in Miss Hellfire at the end, when Piper froze Bane and Barbara's, and Prue told her just to unfreeze Bane.
That is so true. She did. I didn't even think about that.
I remember there was another scene. I'm drawing a blank. When they were in the courtroom and she was trying to get Piper to freeze like the whole courtroom, I think, or just the people. Was it just the demons?
Just the
Just the
innocent.
innocent.
And she was like, "Try again." I was like, she's in that moment. She's thinking big picture here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's something that I kind of, even if it wasn't Prue, I wish I saw the other sisters doing more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because I feel like I'm trying to think. I don't think Prue really pushed Phoebe to like practice her powers. Mostly because Phoebe, I think, kind of practiced hers of her own accord. uh they kind of helped Paige through it, even though they had a white lighter who lived in the house, and he was like, "Girl, it ain't got nothing to do with me." Like, they were the
You
ones that.
know,
Mhm.
you know what's so wild is Leo never tried to help Paige, or
Mm-mm.
and that would have been so useful for them. Like she had to take it up on herself to learn how to orb.
Mhm.
When you have a white lighter down the hall from you.
Yeah, literally jumping up and down inside of your sister every night. And
Okay, all right.
well, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just saying, just for the
Oh,
record.
was she? She was throwing it out there too.
Like, and like he never tried to teach her how to heal. Like maybe she would have learned. Maybe she could have conjured up enough love for her sister to learn how to heal if Leo had taught her.
If he had actually, because when she was trying to heal Cole, and she was like, and she was so just aggy, and she was like, "Aren't I half white lighter?" And I'm like, "Why did you have to sound that sentence out? Are you okay?" And
Like
she
you're not 10, you're still grown.
exactly, and she's like, "Maybe my white lighter half can whatever his demon half," and everybody was looking at each other like that doesn't make any sense, and they were just like, "Girl, okay, whatever, come on, let's try."
and and to be fair, it didn't make sense.
It didn't. Like, nothing about it made any sense. I'm like, girl, how is that gonna offset his head? Okay, okay, Miss Ma'ams. Okay, we just gonna go on ahead and we're just gonna take your word
We
for
don't want to use that HB word.
it. Mhm.
We won't use it, but we are thinking it.
Mhm. Mhm. So, so speaking of powers, this is also the first episode that the girls learn that Piper's power does not work outside of the room they're in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also doesn't work on good witches.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right, because she said, "You're not frozen."
Yeah, she was very shocked, very confused. I feel like she was mad because she was like, "Okay, the only thing I've been wanting to do is freeze y'all my whole life, and now I can't even do that." Okay.
It, but the wildest thing was is that like it easily could have been that Piper couldn't freeze her sisters,
Mhm.
but Phoebe said, "Oh, you must can't freeze good witches," and then they just went with it for the
Yes.
rest of the series.
That's
And it
Yes.
would have been fun. And it would have been funny if Piper couldn't freeze good witches because she thought that because Phoebe
Mhm.
planted that idea in her head.
and she could have the whole time.
And she
And she could have
definitely
the whole
could.
time, but because
We'll never
she thought
know.
that she couldn't.
She would never try it again. You know how she is.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I just always found it so strange that they just took something that Phoebe didn't know. She just guessed. She just
She made it
from the
up.
information presented in front of
Like,
her, she just guessed that, oh, you must can't freeze good witches. And then they just took that as fact.
Mm-hmm.
what did
Mm-hmm.
what did Candy say? You just made that up,
You just
Uh,
made that up.
like
and we ran with it.
like maybe she couldn't freeze them because they're her sister or they're charmed ones.
Mm-hmm. I kind
But
of feel
no,
like in the
Phoebe
earlier seasons, they
just
kind
said the first.
sorry. Oh,
Can you
go
repeat
ahead.
that? I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was waiting on James. I interrupted him, so I was gonna let him say it.
Oh no, I was waiting on for you to say what you were going to say.
I was just gonna say, I feel like in the earlier seasons, especially season one, they just kind of had them like figuring it out as they went and just trying to like make it happen. Like
Yeah,
just for their understanding, be like, okay, this, but then they never debunked it. And they just kind of took it as the show just kind of took it and was like, okay, that must be what we meant by this. When they could have very easily later on had them have Piper freeze a good witch, and then be like,
but
oh, so I can freeze other witches? I guess it's just not y'all.
right.
Because it's even like with Piper's freezing power itself, everybody kept calling it freezing time. And even now, there are some fans that will read you or try to read you into the ground if you call it freezing time. And it's like that's what they called it on the show. And the thing is like the witches from back in the cut, like Melinda's time, to them it was freezing time. Like it wasn't just that I'm freezing
Right.
objects. To them, it probably really was freezing time. And so
Yeah,
Wasn't that in the
because for
prophecy? Wasn't the word time actually in the prophecy?
yeah.
They
yeah.
mentioned time specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, up until the episode that Piper got her exploding power, the show operated as if she was freezing time.
So here's what's interesting to me about that is that when she froze Nicholas, I feel like when the clock kept going and he knew that he had to have been frozen because he only heard a certain number of chimes, I
Hmm.
feel like even then they were trying to set up that the power worked on a more physical level than like a time level, if that makes any kind of sense. Because and I'm now am I know I'm giving the writers a lot by saying that. Like because
Yeah, I was just about to say, uh, it was probably less that than they probably didn't have a good concept of how time worked.
yes, exactly. And like I think that was probably more so just for the story because
Yeah,
you would think like in Deja Vu all over again, her power would have like interfered in some shape, form, or fashion with Tempest's,
yeah,
but like it maybe not stopped him or reversed what was happening or whatever, but kind of like her power wouldn't work for whatever reason. And it didn't work
yeah,
because they were in a time loop. And so she couldn't actually stop time because it was, stuck in a rut. If they had done something like that, that would have been cute.
yeah, and yeah. I feel like them like whoever writes on Power Rangers has like the tiniest like concept of time, like a graph of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because like with Power Rangers, when they reverted back to their children's self, they didn't know if they had reversed time or reversed their ages. In any episode, it could be an entirely different explanation of what happened.
And then they sent Aisha to Africa.
Right. So like, and then when time came back to normal, what did that mean? Did Aisha end up growing up in Africa, or were they always in the right time and she just
Well, because Tanya, I don't remember if Tanya could speak English or not when she was little, but it was always so interesting to me that when Tanya grew up, she oh wait, did they meet her as a teenager or a kid? I don't remember.
as a kid because they met her before time. Aisha sent
Sent
little
her,
girl Tanya back.
yeah. And it's like Tanya came up in there knowing how to speak perfect English. She had to have had a social security number because she was in school. Like that little boy wanted her to
Right.
teach, wanted to cheat off of her, and she was like, "I'll teach you, but I'm not gonna let you cheat." And I'm like, "Okay, well, so did Aisha teach Tanya this? Because I'm confused. Did she assume Aisha
Right.
anything on paper?"
Yes. And which begs the question, like, so did their age just reverse and they not go back in time? Because like she must have known all this
Mm-hmm.
like as a child. But then
Mm-hmm.
again, see, you'll confuse yourself trying to understand
You absolutely
the
will.
Power Rangers that because then later, because Tanya's parents went missing and Zio didn't.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. And weren't they like explorers or doctors or something?
right. And so like when did that happen?
A child, I don't know. It was given very Arnold from Hey Arnold. His parents went out there in the Congo to go help find bananas, a new
Not the
species of
Congo.
bananas or something. And next thing you know, they sleep for 30 years. I listen, I ain't got nothing to do with that. Because when they revealed that, I said, I just wish y'all had them shipwreck or something. Because that's foolish. These folks been
You're
asleep
gonna
for 10 years. A nigga,
when
I almost said a word.
when you watch Xena, you're gonna get mad. There is a 25-year time jump at the towards the end of the show where a lot of people are split down the middle, where it's like I won't tell you how or why or how it happens, but it's just like 25 years.
You said 25.
Am I supposed to just say I'm supposed to accept that you have not aged a day in 25 years?
So let me ask this question. And I know I feel like this is spoiling it, but I don't care at this point because now that has made me very curious. Is she like a demigoddess or something?
No, she's just a flat out human. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay.
But I'll say this, there was a supernatural plan that she put into place that was not supposed to have her out of here for 25 years, but the gods intervened in a way that it was out of her control. So she was just gone. And then she popped back up. Hey,
Let me go ahead. Let me just buy the first season of Xena because I'm gonna invest money in this. I'm gonna invest money and I'm gonna invest time because this is crazy. This is ridiculous. What?
fascinating. Fascinating. I feel like a lot of these shows had the same themes. They just executed them really
Yeah.
differently.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
very few executed them properly.
That part.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was telling you the other day, Xena was supposed to end with season 4. So 5 and 6 weren't really in the plan. And to me, seasons 1 through 4 are great. Seasons 2 and 3 are awesome, but 3 and 4 are the best of the whole series.
Yeah.
5 and 6 kind of feel like how they tacked on those last few seasons of Charmed. It's like it's
Uh,
here, we'll keep going, but we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
You're relying on like her kicking butt to sell you a whole episode where like the writing really might have sucked that whole week.
Yeah. Oh,
But I'm interested to see what you think. I'm excited that you can join.
listen, that's gonna have to be next episode. Next episode, I think we're gonna focus on Xena because I have got to watch this. This is gonna be funny.
We might actually have to have you start with her episodes on Hercules first when you first meet her, and then her show started. Like she did, I think 2 episodes on Hercules as a
Mhm.
villain, and then it spins off to her own show.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
She got it popping with Hercules. Let me tell you.
I may have to figure something out, figure that out because baby, listen, I have got to see this foolishness because this is my kind of carrying on. This is my exact kind of carrying on. So speaking of themes, this episode, we see Piper struggling with being a witch and trying to come to terms with the fact that she is a good witch because she kind of associates witches with evil in her head. She's scared to go into church because she feels like God is going, hit her with that thunder. So, how did y'all how did y'all feel about that part?
I really appreciated it and I liked it because it humanized her in a way that I don't think her other sisters really struggled with identity the way Piper did.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
the fact that she was watching that documentary and then she just automatically assumed that God was going to smite her and get her out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing her struggle outside that church was, for me, I thought she delivered a great performance. And also, as a side note, that pastor was kind of fine. Just to put that out there.
He was very listen because baby,
I
let me hush,
I just had to note that.
honey,
But it
because
was great. And honestly, hearing her talk it out with Phoebe and
mm,
Phoebe kind of reassuring her, like, Piper, you've been the kindest person I've known my whole life. Everybody
Yeah,
knows
that
that about you.
was nice.
And that's a theme that you she struggles with throughout
Yeah,
the series. And it comes up
yeah,
several times. And it's
mm-hmm,
like she has to be reminded, but it's true. She really is like the heartbeat of the family.
mm-hmm. And it's funny
yeah,
because
that's what I was gonna say about it recurring throughout the series.
mm-hmm. And it's interesting because it kind of echoes that same conversation that she had with Phoebe after Phoebe, murdered Paige. And
Yep.
when
Yep.
the show
Oh
wanted us to
yeah.
think that it was Barbie that made her think it was him, but she really knew it was, him. She knew it was Paige. And so but we get that same kind of moment where Phoebe is having this internal struggle about being evil, and Piper's like, "No, I've known you your entire life." And it's moments like that that I think really show us Piper and Phoebe are I I'm gonna go ahead and say the closest, probably of everybody, especially in the later seasons, just because of everything they've been through. But even in the earlier seasons, I think, we've discussed before how Piper defaulted to Prue, but I think in terms of closeness, she probably was closer to Phoebe
Yeah. Yeah.
at
Absolutely.
times. At times, but you know,
Yeah,
But because
I
in a lot
think
of ways, Prue was more parentified to Piper at a point, whereas Phoebe was like her little sister. And, I know we called them the Terror Twins, but
yeah.
outside of that, they've always had a close bond.
Yeah, and I think that Piper bonded with Phoebe in a way that she couldn't with Prue. Piper and Phoebe have like more of an emotional bond where like they maybe like don't hang out that much, but like they have like good talks.
mhm,
Whereas Piper and Prue, like they're the type of sisters like who do things together and bond on that level, even
mhm,
though they might not go into their emotional feelings. Like they'll tell each other about things, but they don't have like those emotional conversations that Piper and Phoebe had.
mhm, mhm. Because, like you said, like Piper and Phoebe got to be kids together. They got to actually grow up and, experience life together. Whereas Prue was kind of like, I don't want to say on the outskirts, but, she was kind of on the outside looking in from the way they made it seem because she was
Well,
essentially raised.
she was
Mm-hmm.
their parental figure, like really, like really their mother, and like there's certain things that like you're not comfortable sharing with your parents that you
Yeah.
could tell to a sibling or a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that reflects in their adult relationship.
Mm-hmm. And I really
Like,
genuinely think that Piper and Phoebe balance each other out because Piper was not a risk taker. She wasn't gonna do all of that. Listen, I'm just trying to live my life. I'm trying to eat my spaghettios. I'm trying to watch TV and then I'm trying to go to sleep. That's all I want. And Phoebe, I think, was the one that kind of pushed her to be more spontaneous and experience life a little more, whether she did or not. I feel like Phoebe was the one that was constantly doing that. And that's maybe why she clung to her a little bit because she had that thrill that she wasn't going to get with Prue. So it was like, Prue is comfort and then Phoebe is like my support.
And
Yeah,
Phoebe
even
gave her the courage to do this because, you know, she gave her the courage and like the push to do a lot of things. And it didn't come across like because I want you to do it, but because you should. Like you deserve to have fun and let your hair down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think once
yeah,
her
even
and Prue start, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, even as like POV characters, like they represent the two sides of the audience watching. You got Piper, the skeptical, doesn't want to be a witch experience this, and then you got Phoebe who's like really into it,
Mm-hmm.
and like I feel like those are the two sides that the two main POVs that
Mm-hmm.
one would take watching, and those two characters represent.
And I think a really good
But what were
example
you
of
saying?
what you I was just gonna say, well, I forgot what I was gonna say at first, but um, what you just said, I think a really good example of that is in Trial by Magic, when they're out there in the little commune circle thing, and Phoebe is like, "Girl, we gotta
Yeah.
connect," so get out your clothes, and Piper's like, "Girl, you got to be out your last mind," and just Phoebe wanting so badly to connect with this magic, not just because she knows she has to, but because she wants to. And then,
Yeah.
convincing Piper, who is very hesitant, just like always, and Phoebe allowed her to kind of like open that side up. And then Phoebe heard Grams. I don't remember. Piper didn't hear Grams at that point. She heard Grams right
No,
before Jeremy
at the
attacked, right?
club.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, when she was trying to get that loan by any means necessary.
right.
She was,
Like
baby.
even it just made me think about it, like how Phoebe was the first one, to learn how to write their own spell, and Piper was the last. Even after Paige, like she didn't write her own full spell until she wrote the one to vanquish Curzon in season 4.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Like even being reluctant to like that basic part of magic
And let
compared to Phoebe, who was like, even before she recited her first spell, she was working on it. Like as soon as Grams and Patty was like, "You can write your own spell," her eyes perked up and her brain started working.
mm-hmm. Baby Phoebe
And
was
she was good at it too.
she was so good at it. And I think and that's what always makes me so sad about the episode with the smart spell, because Phoebe really thought she was dumb. And it's like, no,
Yeah,
I think she has such an affinity for things. She probably felt dumb by comparison, because it's like everybody is, good at this, so they can do that. And then there's kind of her who's just figuring life out, but she was far from dumb. And,
yeah,
I know that some people are going to fight me on this, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They decided in season 4 that Piper was going to be the potions master because, they had a role to fill. But
right.
before that, Phoebe
It
really
was,
was the one that was making potions. Phoebe improved kind of equally, but Phoebe
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Phoebe was mixing. She was
It
in
felt like Phoebe enjoyed making the potions. Prue was good at it, but Phoebe enjoyed making them.
but,
yes.
mm,
Yes. Phoebe
Didn't give a
enjoyed
damn
all
about them
aspects.
potions.
She could like put
Be-
herself into it and whatever else. And then, I think in season 4 what happened, I think what happened was when Paige got there, they had to have a role filled, and so it's like Piper is the potions master, Phoebe is good at writing spells, and now Paige has to get in where she fits in, where Piper really wasn't like making potions until season 3. And that's why I
and
think
it was like one potion that
with
Prue
Prue.
helped her with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of wish the show had acknowledged that they were making that shift a little bit more. Like season 3
Yeah,
could have been Piper really starting to understand, like, she's natural at making potions because they said she was a chef. And it's like I feel like they kind of tried to do that with in Pre-Witched when she was just putting stuff together, and Grams was like, how do you know what to put in the pot, Piper? I mean, my God. And
You know, you know what? They took the show, uh, took that one little moment and blew it up to her becoming a potion master in season 4.
it,
Because I do, because I do have some questions about Free Witch. Because Graham was working on a potion to strip their powers, and like Piper, was putting things in. What did she think Grams was making, and why would whatever she thought Grams was making it? Why would Piper, whatever she put in it, make the potion work?
right. Like you would think
For
that would
them to have two
work.
different,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think
because Piper was completely coming from it from a culinary experience.
yes, that's exactly what I was about to say. At the end of the day, you know, of course, we know that different herbs and ingredients have magical properties, but just because she knew how to offset the taste of something doesn't mean that she should have known what magical properties go hand in hand with each other. Because what if she had put two things together that were explosive? What if she had put two things together
Right.
created poisons? We don't know what the magical properties of child. They said, listen, we're gonna lump
We
it
don't
all together.
care.
Okay.
Or where she just use, or where she just use salt and pepper, and then Astro Monkey. They made such a big point to say how Phoebe was their go-to for potions, even calling it what Phoebe's Pharmaceuticals.
Yes, and Phoebe was in there. Phoebe made that potion up like not off the top of her head because she had like a basis for it to separate humans from magic or magic from humans.
Yeah,
Phoebe was up in there whipping and said, "Okay, I'm just gonna adjust it and whatever else," because she had an understanding of magic. But Piper kind of struck me. Okay, have y'all ever watched Wizards of Waverly Place?
Um,
uh,
yeah, but
maybe an episode, but not
Okay.
enough to be familiar
a
with.
long time.
But you,
Okay, so I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but Piper kind of seemed like a reverse Alex Russo, where maybe she had more of an affinity for magic than she realized, but she just didn't care to tap into it. Like Alex did it because she was late. Like Alex was naturally gifted at magic, but she was lazy, and so she just would kind of like do stuff, and if it worked out, it worked out. If it didn't, it didn't. But I feel like Piper, they could have gone the route of like Piper's good at making potions. Piper is good at writing spells when she wants to. She just doesn't care to because she doesn't want to get involved in magic like that. I think that would have been a really interesting route for her to take. And I think that would have
yeah,
set up really well a season 4 or 5 where she gets really, really down on herself, but she's like, I know what I'm doing because I think one thing I appreciate about the later seasons, especially starting like season 5 on, it kind of it kind of got on my nerves for a while until I really thought about it and it made sense that like in season 5 they just know stuff like Piper, who barely opens the Book of Shadows unless there's a reason to, knows about like chupacabras and all these,
yeah,
all these other different things, and it's like it
And you know, she
makes
was not reading that book on her
yeah.
time off. She was
Piper
not.
was not reading that book on her time out, but there is a scene and I thought that it was a lie. I really did because I don't be believing people sometimes because I low key think I'm an expert on stuff. But one of my friends pointed out to me that in Feats of Clay, when when Prue comes in the house so she can go yell at Phoebe for finding out that Clay is a thief or finding out that the item was stolen, Piper is writing in the Book of Shadows. And I was like, there is no way that she is. But
Oh,
when,
yeah, because
when
she had a little poster because she was technically the first person to write in the book, the first sister to write in the Book of Shadows.
like, what was Piper, who didn't care
Wow.
for magic, writing in the Book of Shadows in season 1?
The first one to fight a warlock. The first one to
Mhm.
write in the book. Isn't that interesting?
And then, okay, I'm gonna really think about this because I don't remember if Wedding from Hell or um the episode with the whatever he was, the warlord, whatever, the one where there were three Prues. I don't remember which episode
Yeah.
came first. And the reason I'm trying to remember that is I remember I'm trying to remember if her power is the first one that we see that there's like a limit to, because when
The
she
Wedding
tries to
for
freeze.
Hell came first.
Okay. Because what that makes me think about is the fact that, like, when she tried to freeze that fly, that's the first time we find out, like, well, I mean, okay, technically we know that her power is the first one we know that has a limit because of the freezing inside the room. Okay,
Right.
never mind. Let me double back. And we just talked about that. So I think Piper's power is the one they put the most limit on,
Right.
because, and I think even the same can be or especially the same can be said about her exploding power, because like it would have just made everything too easy. Like if they go up against something and Piper just freezes it, can freeze it, it's like, okay. Or she's in a one room and she decides to freeze something and she can from another, like that would have been too much. So as much as I kind of hate that her power was limited so much, because especially because low key, I feel like Prue was just like throwing stuff. Like I feel like there were very few times where Prue's power didn't work, and when it didn't, it was for a
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
And then she knew what to kind of do without it. But what I was thinking, well, I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna say, is that why when she was blowing up demons at the end, they would laugh at her? But I was gonna leave that alone.
I do think so, though. I mean, I
But
really do think that's a part of
because
it
it
because
stopped, like, and they weren't even that high level of demon. They were just like, "Are you playing with me?"
yeah, it's
But it
like
tickles.
just random demons just coming in the house with sunglasses on, and Piper can't blow them up. And I really think,
Yeah.
but I
Remember
think that I think
when
that limit was necessary with a power like that, though. And I kind of think that's why they didn't
Yeah.
give her like reverse in time, fast forward in time, whatever else. Because
Yeah.
imagine if like every single demon they encountered, she could blow up. Like, baby, what's the point of the show now? Because where
Yeah.
we going from here?
Even when the Wendigo attacked her, she couldn't freeze her because she was trapped in a phone booth, like that
Mm-hmm.
small space, because it was enclosed,
Mm-hmm.
even made of glass,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
and she
true.
still couldn't use her power because
Yep.
it was enclosed.
Mm-hmm.
That thing got to her.
Mm-hmm. Sure did. Sure did. And it's like it's funny because like later on her freezing just becomes like a reaction, whereas I feel like in the beginning of the show she either had to be reminded to freeze or she would kind of like think about it. She'd be like, oh yeah, I forgot I can freeze stuff. And then she'd
Yeah.
be like boom. And then just the fact that like season one mama is freezing bullets, like when that gangster was finna shoot Prue and she froze that bullet.
Right.
Oh, are we cutting up?
All right, we tapped in now.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. But so speaking of like demons, and I don't know that I actually said anything about demons, but this is the moment I'm gonna choose to
Speaking of demons,
say. One thing that was brought up beforehand when we were kind of coming up with what we observed about the episode were just like demons appearances in this episode and episodes in season one versus like later on in the seasons, because Javna was disturbing. Like Javna scared. And I wasn't the one who came up with this. Agent X was. So if you want to take this over, that was such an interesting point that I had not thought about.
Yeah. It's just, I think, and one of the things that appealed to me in the earlier seasons were the different depictions of demons. Like none of them looked the same. And then what, season three, kind of, but really season four, the demons just look like regular humans. And like one of the one of the purposes of Balthazar going in to infiltrate is that he was half human. It gave him a human appearance, gave him the human experience, and they was supposed to be like their ace in the hole to go against the Charmed Ones. And later in the series, we got all the demons looking humans.
Mm-hmm.
They know everything about human emotions, so it kind of lessened that impact of Cole and just took away from one of the things that I really liked about the demons. Because that's how you, that was one of the ways you could differentiate between the warlocks and the demons earlier on, because the warlocks had a human appearance because they were witches who turned evil.
Mm-hmm. Because
I didn't even think about that way, especially with the Cole tie-in. It was
because
a pretty big
like
deal that he appeared to be human.
mm-hmm. And they were saying like he can bleed red because he's half human. And I was like, have we ever seen a demon bleed before?
Was he bleeding when Leo healed his human side? Was he bleeding?
Yes. But he was bleeding
Yeah,
red, they said, because he was half
yeah.
human. But I was thinking, like, in terms of other demons, have we ever
Mhm.
seen a demon bleed?
We saw the Grimlocks, I think, because cause then they had like a different color blood.
I
Was it
think,
green? I
I think it was green.
think it was green. I think.
and then that demon, the one that they killed in season 5 when Wyatt was born, that was Stanley. I think that was Stanley. And when they killed him,
Yeah,
he had yellow blood. But typically we would just see the demons like explode. We wouldn't see them bleed, I don't think, before that. And it kind
no,
of became a plot point. But even I feel like in season 2, because okay, season 1, I really wish that they had kept the warlock thing, because Brendan and his brothers scared me. I remember thinking like, there's no way I should probably be watching this. And I think I was like 11 when I saw the episode for the first time. Because I was like, there's no way that as a child I would be watching that. That was so creepy looking. And I wish they had kept it, but I feel like budget probably is the reason they didn't. And I feel like that may be a
yeah.
lot of the demonic kind of sides, weren't shown.
Mhm. One
I
thing
kind of
I missed.
wish.
Oh, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
just say I kind of wish like they gave them more markings.
Mm-hmm.
At least some of the demons had them, but like if all of the demons had like some kind of marking, like something that they just can't just blend in with humans to set them apart.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if I'm in Walmart and I saw the Kazi demon, I, listen, I don't care if he can read or not. Let me hush, because I'm not trying to get nobody in trouble. I'm not trying to get us banned before we even before we get off the ground. Because
Please, please, please,
I saw the
please.
Kazi demon in Walmart, and that's all I'm gonna say. The bathroom doors
You
for the
gonna get an indecent. You gonna get an indecent exposure ticket?
we're gonna go in the stall. The bathroom door, that one, the one that's just the room,
All
just the
right.
bathroom with the
The family
changing,
bathroom. I know.
the family bathroom.
I
I
mean, I
didn't want to
heard.
say that because I felt
I
like it
know.
was
I
creepy
heard.
to say, but that one, you just lock the door, and a room in which
I
there are
don't know
others.
what you're talking about. I have no idea.
I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm gonna hush. I'm just gonna.
I'm That's how I get myself incriminated. But one thing I really did like about the earlier seasons was, at least I think, when the demons would explode at the end, like they died differently in those earlier seasons. It was like each one was kind of dramatic in its own way.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
as it went on, to me, it got kind of sterile. They would just blow up.
Hmm.
And I think that's really just because it, like, by then the demon vanquishes did become just kind of like routine. And then also, I think another reason they probably did that is, in the earlier seasons, we were vanquishing one demon at a time. But in the later seasons, they were vanquishing 5, 6, whatever at any given time,
Right.
like multiple demons in one go. And I think that was a testament to how powerful they had become. But then just from a budget standpoint, it's like, I can't have this demon blow up dramatically and that one and that one. So
And then some of them got the real deal, like my girl, the crone. That was cute.
Oh my God. She was
I
so, I
can't
love
wait
that
until we get to talk about the Chrome. I cannot
Oh
wait till we
yeah.
get to
baby, because my girl ain't ever
that's
seen a
my
dentist
baby.
in her life. And when she took
All right.
when she took that
The
boy,
power.
oh, she didn't even open her mouth about the way she was the power, the power. And then they did
I
that
know
little
that
echo
breath.
with it.
I know her breath had to stink.
Well, anytime
Well,
Piper was like,
wait, Piper smelled.
She
Piper
said that's
said,
what she said. That's
but the way she started, she was like, whoa. I was like, girl, no, whoa. I was like, not this girl stink so bad. You said, whoa. Like, ma'am, excuse me. It tickled me. But hers was good. I love, even though I hate that it, took my girl out, I love the way that the seer went out. I just felt like that was so good. It was so like you could tell there was power behind it. It wasn't just like,
Yeah.
oh, well, she's gone now. It's like, no, you can tell, baby girl, there was some power that took them folks out. It took all
that
them
pi-
demons out. It was, ugh, I love it.
that one pissed me off because she actually should have been the next source, and I would die on that hill.
Oh, definitely. She
Yeah.
She
definitely
would
should
have
have been.
been a great source,
She
Mm-hmm.
could have easily been the season 5 villain.
She could have.
and she would have taken at least Phoebe out of here. She'd have got Phoebe right on up out of here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I still feel like there should have been an official reveal that she was behind Prue being killed. I don't care what anyone says, because I think that would have made a really good mid-season 4, since they kind of ramped it up and took the season 5 storyline and made it the latter half of season 4 storyline. I think if we had seen that she was the one that killed Prue, then it feels more like this is her plan, like to become the source, and she knew she had to get him out of there, and she took out a charmed one, and then as a consequence, when she saw that they reformed the Power Three, that's when she formulated her plan, like, okay, now let me go ahead and come for this, for this mantle. And then she sets the source up to where he's like constantly seeking more power that's going to eventually destroy him, so that and then she manipulates Cole, because you do kind of run into like, why is she having to do all of this? But I think the seer would have been smart enough to know, I can't just come at this. I have to set myself up for the power, as opposed to just
Mhm.
running in it, because the source, they said, messed his face up in the fight that brought him the power. uh, Concretia was not finna be fighting nobody to become the
Who?
source. Concretia, that's my
Well,
name for the seer, because I don't
Uh,
know.
well, it's my theory that the seer faked that vision that got the source to go after the hollow. She wanted him to go after the hollow. And so
Mm-hmm.
she faked that vision and told him that the charm ones were going to kill him or vanquish him.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I can believe it.
I would look.
Knowing that he would go after the hollow. And she was trying to get her enemy, uh, tricking the source,
Mm,
pretending like, no, don't get the hollow. And she wanted it. And she was ready to get Cole to get those powers up out of him
If that
mhm.
so she
baby,
can get them for herself.
if that baby wouldn't have cooked her like an easy bake oven, she might have made it.
Oh, if
Cooked her. He cooked her. He said, "No, we're going to have Memorial Day barbecue, and you are the meat."
Baby,
Barbecued her.
oh if it went for that, oh yeah, because she already had the charmed ones right captured, couldn't use magic.
That
She would have got
plan
them.
was the way she got them in that cage. Like she deserved another season. She really did.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because baby, when that baby set her locks on fire, because it was a, I can't say that. Tag nabbit, I can't say that. But when it set them locks on fire, baby, that was a wrap.
What was her line about "Come to me, children" or something? What was her line?
Oh
Come,
yeah, that
The
little
night
nursery.
belongs to.
let the little children play. I think that's what she said. I don't know. I'll be making up lines in my head, so that may or may not be what she said.
I mean, you sound like other people.
I mean, hey, because these people, I'm just going ahead and say it. The people on Twitter make up their own versions of the show. People on TikTok make up their own versions of the show. So you know what? I should be allowed to make up my own version. That may or may not be what she said, but if it's not, that's what I remember her saying. So that's what I'm going.
Is what she said. Is what she said.
Mm-hmm. As it is written, so it shall be. It's like that season in season 7 when Paige is telling I think it's Leo about her new charge, the one that could move like really fast. I remember her saying I remember her saying that he had about as much power as Piper had in her pinky. I remember her saying that. But then when I went back and watched it, that's not what she said. She was like, he's supposed to be super powerful or something like that. And I was like, she just made that up. I was like, Paige just went back in time and she made that line up to make me look stupid because I remember her saying something different. And I want you to know, I want y'all to know that that episode aired in like 2004, 2005, something like that. So that meant, because I just found this out last year. So that meant for like 18 years, I had been thinking that she said one thing and she didn't. There are people in high school that were graduating high school finna go to college, and I'm still believing that she said this one thing and she didn't. I was so embarrassed. I just felt so bad about myself. I said, okay. I said maybe I'm not a fan. I'm gonna just hang it up, fruit salad.
Nana, can you please
hang it up, fruit salad? Hang it up.
I
mean, I'm just saying. So, evil in the 90s, I feel like was in this transition period where they were trying to make it more appealing and less, like booga booga. And that might be another impact because it was like a cultural thing. But that's what I kind of appreciate about Buffy is like Buffy had vampires and they had demons. Like the demons were easily recognizable. There was no like, I wonder what that is. You knew it was a demon because their face looked completely different. It was some
Right.
demon. The vampires, when they turned, it was like the vampires you can kind of get away with because you could have someone that's a vampire and they be there for like 3 episodes and you can get away with not knowing that they're a vampire up to a certain point. But once that face comes, that's a wrap. Because even that, I feel like is part of that trend of trying to like humanize evil, especially with her and Angel. It's like I'm not even gonna get into her and Angel because that's gonna make my head hurt, and I don't have the energy today.
I can't wait till I start that show so I can give my expert opinion.
Right? Because I can't wait to see what you think.
From what I hear, my timeline, and y'all be going up for Miss Summers and crew.
But
some of them.
Because Buffy Shatoya Summers, I'm always gonna go up for her.
Buffy who?
Buffy Shatoya Summers, I'm always gonna go up for her.
Shatoya,
yes, Buffy Shatoya.
Shatoya.
So, all right, y'all. So, we've kind of gotten our charm discuss. Oh no, we haven't gotten our charm discussion out the way. Listen, my favorite part of that episode, besides Phoebe running, is that vanquishing spell. I want you to know that the way I was obsessed with the Javna vanquishing spell, like I probably need help because it was just so cool. It's like I want to know who wrote that spell because whoever wrote it, they were in their bag. Whoever wrote that spell to vanquish Javna was in their bag. Evil eyes look unto thee. May they soon extinguished be. Bend thy will to the power of 3. Eye of earth, evil and accursed. Bend thy will to the power of 3. We are in episode 2, and they already telling demons, baby, the power of 3 is here to stay for the most part. So you might as well go ahead and get ready. You might as well go ahead and bend thy will. That spell is everything.
But
It was. It was.
this also brings up another issue. Uh, they made it seem like in the first episode that the power of three is like something that they kind of just came up with,
Mm-hmm.
and then like now it's like all up in the book. Like their ancestors knew about the power of three.
I've
Like
never
where did
thought
they
about
even
that
come
before.
from?
I have absolutely never thought about that before. They did just kind of throw the power three out there like it was a thing because they made a big deal about the charmed ones. Obviously, that was the prophecy. I would assume that if they made a deal about like the charmed ones existing, that like there were mentions of the power three and power of three spells, but that is so interesting. I've never thought about that before.
Yeah, but even if like they had did that, Prue, Piper, and Phoebe didn't have any. They didn't have any knowledge of that because they just came up with it, what they call. Excuse me. They just came up with what they saw off the spirit board.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Prue was like, remember the spirit board,
Remember the
the inscription,
word?
inscription on the back, baby. But it's interesting that they definitely made it seem like the power three was like Patty mentioning it. And I wish that,
Right.
something in the book that was like the charmed ones channel the power of three or did so wait, oh God, I cannot believe I'm forgetting this, but in the spell to give them their powers, did they say the power of three in there? Like what was
Mm-mm.
the phrase the power of
Mm-mm.
three in it? No,
Nope.
Mm-mm.
that is so interesting. Huh. I'm gonna be thinking about that, like probably for the next week or two. That is so interesting, but and it goes back to kind of I think something that always sort of bothered me about the show, but I think it makes sense. Like I've always wanted to know what was so special about them that the power of three existed in them. Like, was the power of three a random power that spawned? Did Melinda's power, her own individual power, did it rival the power of three? And then it lit because when I know her powers got split in three, but did her power get split in three? If that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Because if so, listen, between her and Wyatt, I see why the elders probably wanted the Warren line gone because baby, that's too much power in one place. It is. That's too much going
Exactly.
on. If Melinda was
It
so
is.
powerful that her power respawned as the power of three generations later, get him up out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Get. Because I mean, it's unchecked. You can't check a power like that. They could really do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. Because Melinda, I I feel like Melinda and Wyatt are kind of the same, where like their power had to be bridled because they lived in times where it was dangerous. Like, of course, Melinda, you do anything, you could fry an egg the wrong way and they would say you were a witch. But
Not
Right.
frying egg.
the frying egg child. But then Wyatt, it's like he lived in an era where everything was so televised and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could easily be exposed as a witch.
Yeah.
The little MF conjured a dragon,
Conjured a whole dragon. This boy conjured.
and it was just flying around the city, just foolishness.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And the only reason that he got rid of it was because of Piper. That's it. He didn't want his incubator
That's
gone.
it.
Right.
He didn't care about nobody in the city. He didn't give a damn about nobody.
Mm. Well, he did turn evil 5 times,
I'm
six.
gonna say
Who knows?
it tracks for him. So unfortunately, that's because there's nobody watching him.
Yeah. I mean, even Melinda said that she could have easily gotten off the stake, but she sacrificed her life for her daughter.
Because I
So
Random.
probably would have had to kill all them people and just leave with my child.
Please don't bring that up to me. because
and
There's no way.
there is
and
no
so
way.
and so it was. Oh,
Hmm?
oh yeah. I was waiting on you to finish.
Oh, I wasn't saying it.
You you said
Oh, when
something.
you said there's no way.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, my bad, y'all. I was just kind of saying there was no way, but I was also like my
Oh, I thought you
thought
had
Oh,
something to
process.
say.
it sounded like something was gonna follow it.
I was just saying like there's no way because my thing is like okay, you were a suspected witch. No, you didn't use your powers to get down, but you were still a suspected witch. Your daughter might not have been safe as the daughter of a suspected witch because if she makes one false move, and clearly, even if she didn't have magic herself, which she may or may not have, but even if she didn't have magic herself, you left her a giant leather bound book with a symbol on the front, and you open it up, and it's like Book of Shadows. You want to learn some magic? Here's you go. And it's like,
Please, please.
I don't know why.
well, she did say within,
Yeah, she did
but
say it
still, it
was
was a book of magic.
it's a book of magic. Like, but then it makes me wonder, what did the original book look like? Was it just like a pamphlet? It was just like a couple.
Probably
Probably like a
was.
watchtower.
Yeah, probably had about two spells in it.
Please leave me alone.
I
Please.
wa- I wa- I want to know what spells did she put in the book.
To discourage a lover.
did she write the how to banish a Sixon?
A Suxin. A Suxin.
I mean,
Well, apparently,
did she put that in the book?
the elders put that in, and I want to know when did they do that.
Well, I
They
mean,
never did it.
demons
It just
came
happened
in
this
and out
week.
the
They put it
house
in
at
last
any
week.
time.
They put it in there last week.
They
And
did.
I'm sorry, they expect us to believe that the spell to vanquish a Suxin was in that book, and no one noticed it. No one thought about, what's a Suxin?
What is this, honey? Because
And then wait, Suxin is Nexus spelled backwards.
Mhm.
I wonder. No, they played with us with that one,
They really did.
especially when they talk about, especially Phoebe done read that book backwards and forwards.
Mhm. Mhm.
And there's a couple episodes where Prue really like was going through like the whole book. You told me she ain't never see it.
Uh-huh. And
I know Piper
Paige
ain't see it.
indexed the book.
Yeah.
I
Paige
would.
indexed the book. So when she want to know, is a Suxin good, evil, or
I
neutral?
mean, because my good sis stole the book out the house. I know she would have saw it.
She was trying to photocopy it and everything. She took it right on the Kinko's and said, "Let me go ahead
The
and
only
photo."
one, the only one I don't expect to see it was Piper.
Piper
She
said, "Baby,
never
this
would
ain't
have
got nothing
saw
to do with
it.
me."
So,
Piper said, "This ain't got nothing to do
or
with
if she did see it, if she just went right past it. Because
What did
she
you
ain't
say?
tried. If she did see it, she just went past it because she ain't tried to figure out what a Suxin was.
Last
me."
week when he said and she had premonition, she wouldn't have told him. If she saw that spell, she was never going to mention it.
Uh-uh.
Baby was never gonna say nothing about. I hollered, child. When I tell you that tickled me,
Put me
that
down.
tickled me. And then my thing is like, okay, this is what was like here, what was kind of queer about that to me. Why would there need to be a spell in there in the first place? Like, I know she kind of gave like that haphazard, response to it, but my thing, or reason why, but my thing is like, at what point did the elders say in history? I'm not even gonna say in that moment. In history, at what point would they have said, you know what? This nexus of spiritual energy, we need to vanquish this. At some point, we may need to vanquish this. So here you go. Here's a spell to do so. The elders, oh God, no man, they're so messy.
And, and and I have my issues with the Nexus even being able to be vanquished, but that's neither here nor there. I'm sorry, but did they really need to put the spell in the book with how sorry it was? I'm sorry. Any of the charmed ones could have came up with a better spell than the one that they put in that book.
Anybody could have. Why could have came up with something better than that
Listen, okay.
from inside the womb? Actually,
That
Because
part.
if that's the kind of Because if that's the kind of spell that it takes to vanquish the Nexus, that's something that you could just come up with off the top of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Even Patty could have did that one.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's simmer down. Well, I think we may be taking it a little too far now.
You don't think she could have at least handled that one?
Ah,
Like the spell to vanquish Eames was more complicated than the spell to vanquish the Nexus.
yes.
Please,
Yes.
I'm rejecting your like. Please
The,
get
the
somewhere. Sit down.
fetch. And then,
I just
that makes me question the limits of the power of three because they were still kind of on the ropes at this point and they were desperate. So the power of three, as they had shown us, had just kind of gotten back together because they said the power of three spell to where they could get the book. You're telling me that at no point could they have written a power of three spell to vanquish Zanku, but they were able to vanquish the Nexus inside of Zanku? Like what?
Yeah, that also makes no sense. If you could destroy the Nexus, you can destroy Zanku. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, it doesn't make sense. You vanquish the source.
Mm-hmm. 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 And clearly the source, he may not, I'm not gonna say the source was more powerful than Zanku, but he was at least as powerful as Zanku if he could, go up against him in battle and then end up, imprisoning him. So you're telling me the power three can't handle that?
But you know what? The thing that bothers me the most is that we don't know because they never tried. They never
They,
tried vanquishing
mm-hmm,
Zanku. We never saw a potion or a spell that they used and failed to
mm-hmm,
vanquish Zanku.
mm-hmm,
that's
mm.
true. We sure didn't.
They never even gave it a shot. They just said, baby,
They,
listen.
they, they just gave up and said, you know what, you got it. You can have it.
They just they just assumed that the stuff that they use on the source when work on Zanku that he would have found a way he would have found a way around him. You mean to how would he have found a way around the power of three?
Mm-hmm.
What would he have done
Nothing.
to get around it?
Listen.
This little MF have been locked up for thousands of years. Was kind of fine too, though. Just gonna put that out there as well.
Oh, he was definitely fine. Most definitely. And all that leather.
He's
Ooh,
probably
Uh,
he's probably top three villains for me because he was able to break them down in a way that was it was beautiful to watch from like an entertainment point. I mean, it was hard to watch my girls be down so bad, but it was great to see he had them on the ropes. Like Piper and them were ready to give up, pretty much.
mm-hmm.
I
what I
think he
liked
should have been
about
the final bad.
well, supposed to, and then they needed another season
So
out
we
of
were
him.
looking for people in the cave.
Okay,
Like,
Pebbles Flintstone up here giving us trouble.
yeah. And what I really liked about Zanku and then that final episode of season 7 was he did the same thing that the source did,
Mm-hmm.
but went about it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like the source used the hollow, stole their powers. Zanku uh, did it by weakening the book and using their own magic against them to take their powers and got them down to just one sister.
Thank God for her.
Mm-hmm.
Without
And both of their downfalls were that they focused on getting the third sister's powers instead of dealing the killing blow.
if you were smart, you would have actually taken Paige out first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or even when you got the second power, if either of them had went after the sisters, then it would have been over.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted all three. The greed got them. They wanted all three powers, and it was the downfall of both the Source and Zanku.
And Barbas. Let's not forget Barbas because when he could have
Too.
very easily become the source when he had Cole's power, which would have tripled his power
Uh,
because he was already strong in his own right. Then he had Cole's power, and if
right,
he gotten a hold of the source's magic, baby, he would have been unstoppable. But he was so hell bent
right,
on revenge outright. That's what messed him up.
mm, and right, and like Like he could have just vanquished them, but no, he had to make them suffer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
look what happened.
Yep. And then he was sitting up there looking stupid, crawling in behind Gideon.
Oh
And ain't
goodness.
nobody got time. So, you know,
And then that just made me think of all this trouble that Barbara's put them through. They could never vanquish them until season 7 with some random potion.
and then they didn't even vanquish him, they banished him, right? Because in
Well,
season
in season
8,
7,
mhm.
well, we didn't see them after season 7 after they vanquished them with their potion.
Yeah, I was thinking about in
Phoebe
season 8
and
when
Paige.
I was thinking about in season 8 when Christy was like, when not Christy, Billy had turned the
Oh
page to
yeah,
Barbara's page, and they were like, "You want us to summon Barbas? Are you insane?" And I was thinking, like, okay, so Barbas isn't really
Barbara's.
gone; he's just gone. Like he ain't here. He just ain't. That was the implication I got
Yeah,
from it, was that he
and
was just
even if, and even if still, all it takes to banish him is the potion now. But he was giving y'all trouble all this time.
But we know who got rid of him by herself.
Right.
mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
we
Oh,
won't toot that horn. We won't toot it.
no, I felt so bad for Paige when they was talking about that in season 5.
Prue
And
did it.
and she was so excited. She was so excited about there being a way to vanquish Barbas or banish him. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh yeah. Oh no, we can never do that. Only Prue could.
And now, to be fair, and yeah, oh God, I hate playing devil's advocate. My God, to be fair, I think that was more of a reflection of how they had grown as witches, because, like you said before, and kind of how the show changed Barbara's character, because in the beginning he could only be defeated by you overcoming your biggest fear, which is why Prue was able to take the lead on that, because she was the one who had, I think, the biggest stuff to overcome. And then, later on, it just kind of became like, these aren't season 2 witches anymore. These are season 7 witches. They have more ways to get done what they need to get done. And I think it was kind of a reflection of that. And then also the fact that Barbas's MO had changed. He wasn't just bound to fear anymore. He was kind of more on terms with just like your regular run-of-the-mill powerful demon, where he could be
Yeah.
stopped, as opposed to like there's only this single way to take him out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when he was first on there, the only thing that he could do was, manipulate fear. And then by the time he was banished or vanquished in season 7, he was flaming. He was throwing energy balls. He really was the run of the mill demon.
Mm-hmm.
And even his fear based powers weren't even hidden like that.
No, they weren't.
Like when in season 1, like he was doling out the fear,
Mm-hmm.
like enough to kill you. But by season 7, it was more like a nuisance
And you
voice in your
and there was
head.
that point where you also saw him become a little scared at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
was
Yeah.
interesting to see it flip back around, because you are the one that's been terrorizing everybody, but now you are fighting tooth and nail, and you're starting to show your fear a little bit. I thought that was kind of cool, actually. I do
Yeah.
also love the actor, and I just shout out to him. Didn't he? Didn't he
Rest in
leave us?
peace. Yeah,
Yeah, he
He
did.
left us.
he's in one of them
He
rooms, child.
Yeah. We're not gonna say which one, but
okay.
he's
Well,
in
shout out to
he's in
him.
one
I hope.
wherever
I hope
he
he.
is.
I hope he packed light. I think that's what you're saying.
No comment.
We can
I
edit
ain't got
that
nothing to
out.
say.
I
I
can
ain't got
neither
nothing to say.
confirm nor deny.
Just take that right on out of there.
Okay. And Barbas, uh, so Barbas and Gideon kind of remind me of, this is switching gears just a little bit, especially Gideon. kind of reminds me of Tywin Lannister a little bit, where like he thought he had such a foolproof plan that it ended up
Yeah.
backfiring.
Right.
Like
Mhm.
there was no reason for him to have trusted Barbas in the first place because listen, Barbas was about Barbas, and then
Right.
he had such a huge plan playing with reality like that that it was bound to fail. I mean, if it wasn't for good Barbas telling them what happened, it's like probably would have ended up. I think he would have gotten closer, but well, I mean, I say that obviously they stop him at some point because the whole reason why it turned evil was because he was orbiting around the underworld for months, but which I still don't understand how his parents left him down there for weeks and months or whatever it was. But that's neither here nor there. We'll
Yeah.
let they go.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think they said in old future, he was with Gideon for a while, with
Yeah.
Gideon trying to kill him, and they're impressed upon him. That good is evil.
Mm-hmm.
If this person of good was like trying to kill me for however long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You should have ripped Gideon
Oh,
stem to stern. Should have ripped him wide open.
oh,
That part.
and it's interesting to note that Evil Wyatt speaks with like a slight British accent, the same as
Yes.
Gideon's.
Yes. And then
I don't
like
think I noticed that.
he has a very slight English accent. Like, but I don't know if he's Canadian or not because there are certain words that he says very interestingly. He says like family, leave my family alone. And I was like, yo, what? Yo, what, baby? So I don't know if he has a natural accent or just what. But there were definitely times where he would say words very.
Uh, well, he went to Juilliard.
Ew, so he's naturally dramatic.
Yeah,
Oh.
because well, he is American. I just looked that up,
That man
but
was born in Kentucky. I'm up here giving him all of
but
this. That man was born in Kentucky.
but he studied at Juilliard. Cause his that's his and his fans' defense. Whenever someone would say that he couldn't act on General Hospital,
It
was that he
was.
went to Juilliard. They said that he was trying to give a Shakespearean performance as Peter.
Oh my sweet God. It's kind of like to me in Dreamgirls. I never because when I was younger, I never realized that there was, a difference in different type of actors or actresses because Anika Nani Rose kind of got on my nerves as L'Oreal sometimes because she would like over enunciate words and she would be like unnecessarily loud to me at certain points. But then when I found out
Yeah,
she was a theater actress, I'm like, oh, she's used to projecting her voice
yeah,
and having to enunciate so people can understand what she's saying. So I'm like, okay, that
yeah.
makes more sense now in,
Mhm.
this context.
And there's a lot of reasons why, like the soap operas were so dramatic because a lot of the actors used to do theater on the side, but
Mm-hmm.
like all the New York soaps are gone now, so
Yeah.
they can't really do that as much as they used to.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you have to go across the country if you want to do theater, and you really have to take time off
Yep.
from the show because you just can't be going back and forth. So we really lost a lot when we lost the New York soaps.
Mm-hmm. Child, speaking of the soaps, let's just go ahead and get them on out the way.
We don't want to do any other shows first. Want to get into the soaps because it's about to be some mess.
Let's just go ahead
But
and talk about the soaps because
okay,
I've been waiting on this part. You started off. Which story do you want to start with?
should we go from least to? Should we go from I would say the best to worst, or should we just start out with a bang? Let's start with Bold and the Beautiful. That's probably been the least offensive lately, which is a wild thing to say about Bold and the Beautiful.
You say the
Mhm.
least offensive?
Yes.
That's the best way to describe it.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready. Hear this.
So, well, we have the rise of Thope,
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, and Hope. I really hope that they do something with this because this is out of the 4 years of Liam, Hope, and Thomas so-called triangle, which isn't a triangle. This
Mm-hmm.
is the most fun that I've had since it started. This is the first time that like I'm rooting for Hope. Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like I, like a month ago, if you would have told me that I hope that Thomas and Hope would hook up, I probably would slap you because there's no way.
I slept.
But because like I didn't want those two to get together at all. I wanted Thomas away from Hope.
Mm-hmm.
But seeing Annika just step up, like she's been acting these past couple of weeks with
Mm-hmm.
her feelings for Thomas, and yo, now I can see them having like a little affair. They got their family against them, Romeo and Juliet type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if this was anyone other than Brad Bell writing this, we would get that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's and I
I
think
could do without.
sorry.
No, I just gonna say I could do without Liam complaining to anyone who would listen about Thomas. Like you know that you can have. Well, no, I don't know if I should say that on the podcast, but you can. Like you. It doesn't have to be Hope and Thomas. There could be Hope and Thomas, and if you're so obsessed,
Mm-hmm.
because if every conversation you have is about Thomas, you need to reevaluate your feelings for Thomas,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's not healthy for you just
Liam
be talking about this person.
like that exactly. And Liam is so boring now in his current iteration. He always has been, but I think it's just on full display now that he has absolutely nothing to do because of the way that he's just running around talking to Wyatt, who the fact that they dug Wyatt up specifically for like the Sheila stuff, and now he's just sitting around so he can talk to Liam. It's like, okay. And I
Right.
I'm listen, when Annika first got there. Well, I'm just saying, when Annika first got there, I wasn't sure how I felt about her because they just kind of like threw her in the story. But she's a really good
Right.
actress because I remember when she thought Beth had died, baby, when she was in
Yeah.
that bed wailing, I was wailing with her. And I'm not talking about hunting for whales because my God in heaven, she was like she looked distraught for real. And you can tell she's kind of been like disassociated from the show for a little while. Like she doesn't seem like she's really invested. But here
Right.
lately, Mama has been putting in the work. And the way she looks at Thomas some days, I'm like, girl, do y'all have something
Yo.
going on behind scenes?
And
What's going
that's what really sold me on the two of them. Like the way she was looking, like I had never seen that from her.
on?
Because you definitely don't see it between her and Liam. Like they could be brother and sister at this point.
Oh. But you're absolutely right. I'm sorry, and I guess it's just the Leffy fan in me, but I've or Steam fan. I don't know why I said Leffy. I meant Steam because I genuinely feel like Liam and Steffi have always had the better chemistry, whether
Yeah,
it was with Annika or it was with Kim as Hope. I feel like he's always had like he actually in the same way that Annika is coming alive with Thomas. Or with
mm,
what's his name, Matthew. I genuinely
yeah,
feel like that's the only time that he's ever had any real chemistry with anybody because they just play so well off of each other, and I think that he can
yeah,
take the character in like this kind of like live out loud direction. And I think that's the same
yeah,
thing what's happening with Annika is like they're doing I say a good job for them of this juxtaposition of, everyone saying that she's a good girl and so when she goes quote unquote bad, baby, she finna cut up. She might get pregnant. I don't know.
Right.
Like she is finna be doing handstands in a minute, if you know what I'm saying. Like when she lets loose, that's gonna be a wrap.
Yeah. And the thing with Liam and Hope, like I don't think it could be any actor, but I don't think the two characters are ever gonna have chemistry because how they're written from the writer's point of view, they're the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're the hero, heroine. They have this moral compass of the show. Even though Liam would cheat with anyone who looks
Mm-hmm.
at him, but he's still, from the writer's point of view, is seen as like the honest hero. And so when you put that with another honest hero type, it's just going to be boring
Mm-hmm.
because neither one of them are going to generate conflict
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's
because
always gonna have to
they
come
have
from
to be
a bad
right.
person.
Yeah. Because, like, even like for Liam to cheat, Hope had to do something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but Hope couldn't do anything wrong, which is why Thomas had to kiss the mannequin.
That's true. That is true. And then what's so interesting about that is like this iteration of Hope and Liam, they got together through an affair, right? Like he was having an affair with Hope.
Right,
Were him and Steve
right.
broken up at that point, or were they breaking up? I don't remember. I remember he was having sex with her in
They,
the office.
yeah, and even that had to be like Steffi had to do it first for
Mm-hmm.
Liam to cheat with Hope.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they weren't, they were kind of separated. They hadn't divorced yet. Liam kind of was like trying to figure out if he still wanted to be with Steffi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that, yeah, this iteration started with an affair that had to be the fault of someone else. It couldn't be just Liam having an affair. It had to
Mm-hmm.
be because he was pushed to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and like Steffi, she's that kind of person, like, she can mess up
Yeah.
and like she could generate her own conflict, but those two, they can't. So, and when you have that type of couple, you're always going to have to lean on other people for a story because you can't generate your own
Mm-hmm.
because neither of them are allowed to make a mistake if nothing else, if an external force then push that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I they're one of those couples they need if you're gonna keep them together long term, they need a shake up
Mm-hmm.
every now and again. They
Yes.
cannot be allowed to just sit still because if they do,
Right.
you're gonna see they have no chemistry. And it's interesting because it's like I've always thought of Liam as a Nick Newman type character where he doesn't know what to do if there's not a woman somewhere around him. And
Mm-hmm.
you with him, okay, with Nick, I feel like he at least has women that he does have good chemistry with, whether it lasts or not. They do sometimes find women that he has good chemistry with. Liam just is a dud no matter what because
Yeah.
love Scott Clifton to death. I just don't think he's interesting. I mean, he seems like he's an interesting person, but as an actor, he just doesn't seem interesting.
Wait, you know what? What it is like? He's a fine actor, but he's not a romantic lead.
There you go. Okay, I like that. I
He's
like that.
like he like like he could still like whatever story, have his own adventures, whatnot. But like he's not one of those actors where we want to see him with somebody explore their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
He's I don't want to get in trouble, but he's like actor on the General Hospital.
Oh, which one?
Chad Duell, who plays
Oh,
Michael.
oh, he is now. He seems like he's just a boring person. He like this is the thing about him. I think Michael has run his course as a character, and
Mm.
Chad does not. To me, I'm gonna say to me. I'm not gonna say what he does not appear to be interested in that role anymore. Now he may love Michael to death, and that may be his passion project. To me, sometimes when I see him acting, it's just like he's there to get the check. Like
He definitely, it definitely seemed like he phones it in.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Every now and again, depending on the storyline, he can kick it up. Like, I'm not saying he's not a good
Yeah,
actor, but he just seems
yeah,
like he is genuinely over it. And I really think it's because I think they're keeping Michael on because he's a legacy character, and they could stand to lose him. I think they'd be okay. If Michael Corinthos left today, I think I'd be all right.
yeah. Especially because like we have not had a break from Michael since he was born. Like, there have been like times when like he was in a coma when they had to, you know, age him up. But other than that, he's been on canvas since he was born,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like with no real break, no chance that we'll never see him again, no rest.
Mm-hmm.
And they want him to be, the leading man of his generation so badly
Yeah.
that they keep generating these stories that flop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he's another one. I keep coming back to Nick because I feel like Nick is in that same category where I think Nick could take about 6 months off and we will be okay
Yeah.
because he's a legacy. No one is saying you have to
Mhm.
keep legacy characters off. No, but he's one of those characters that you can't just keep throwing him at stuff and hopefully it works. Let him have a break.
Right. Or at least push him in the background.
Yeah.
Put him in a coffee house with Sharon.
Yeah.
They know how to do it because they do it to Sharon.
Yep, exactly. And you could have him be an investor or whatever. He own half of it again, whatever the case may be. And then, we just go back to them every now and again. We see them running the coffee shop. Like Nick
Right.
needs, and I feel kind of bad. I feel like Victoria, I'm on the fence about saying that about Victoria because I think she's a character that you can put her in something and you can get something out of her. Whereas Nick, his storylines tend to be women.
Yeah. And I would like to see Nick. Well, first I'm going to say, I think they do a good job of putting Victoria in a place where her storyline makes sense. Like she has a lot of business storylines,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
even though they probably could give her, well, they are doing something with her innate, but she could probably use a romantic storyline. But like, as far as the stories that she has now makes sense for her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
But where, yeah,
yeah, because Victoria, I'm I don't know how I feel about Victoria as far as her love life goes because I feel like she's always that ill-fated beauty. She's always the one who like her love life is just a mess and
yeah,
they throw these different men at her and it's kind of hard to get emotionally invested because it's not going to last. Like you already know
right.
it's not going to. I was obsessed. I did not like Victoria, but I was obsessed with her when her and Billy were together. I felt like Billy. Okay, let me go back. Billy Miller's Billy, because I think Billy
Yeah,
Miller's Billy brought out the fun in her. He brought out that spontaneity. He brought out that whimsical side. I think he let her be her, but then also showed her there's more to life than just Newman Enterprises. And that is why, for me, I think I know there are a lot of people who watch the character back when she was a teenager. They'll say like Cole or somebody was her best parent. For adult Victoria, I think
Mhm.
Billy Miller's Billy was probably her best parent. Not just my favorite, but I would say arguably one of the best.
And that made me think, and you said how she's fated to have like these ill-fated relationships. I would like for her to have like a tragic ending, like for one of her next relationship, and one that's just going so well, and it just doesn't end because the man betrayed her.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want both of them to like really be in it,
Mm-hmm.
and then like something happens, the man gets cancer or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
he ends up dying because you could kind of see it in their performances,
Mm-hmm.
like with Ashlyn, both Ashlyns, that the relationships kind of felt fake
Yeah.
because Victoria's kind of going in it distrustful, and then the man's going in it, with a plan to deceive her. So it's like we never really get to like the full potential of like we never like we won't get her and Billy again
Yeah.
because there's always an agenda with her relationship,
Yeah.
and the actors kind of play into it like
Mm.
they like a what's her name, Amelia,
Yeah. Amelia.
Amelie, yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah, like she goes into it, kind of like knowing that this relationship isn't going to last. And that's kind of way her relationships are set up. And I just want that Billy and Victoria relationship to happen, but that's not going to happen if they're going to keep on writing that the man is going to betray her.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of think another part of the problem too is nothing is gonna work for her until Victor is gone. I hate to say that,
Right,
but if Victor, there is no way at this point in Victoria's life, her father should still be that much of a barrier to a successful relationship. Like Victor puts his hand in everything that she does. And even if, no matter what level of meddling he does, he always ends up becoming a problem. But then the bigger overall problem is that she forgives him. He had Billy
mhm,
kidnapped and sexually assaulted, and
right.
no one brings it up. I think they brought it up recently. I can't remember if it was in the past year or so they brought it up, but I think they kind of like whitewashed it and just
I,
sort of moved on from it. Like, it happened. I'm sorry.
yeah, I think after Chelsea's incident, it came up again,
Yeah, yeah.
and his part in it.
And it's like he's done these heinous things. He's paid her men to leave, stuff like that. He's the reason that JT even got custody of Reed in the first place. He constantly
Right,
is meddling and doing something. And I feel like she almost has the mindset that Victor does now, that like nobody is going to be good enough anyway, so why even get attached?
right. Yeah, and even if they were, Victor will find some way
Mm-hmm.
to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
And like really none of his children are gonna have, except for Abby, because he doesn't care about Abby.
Yeah, he don't care.
But Adam and Nick aren't gonna have a successful relationship either, because even though he doesn't push as much with them as he does with Victoria, he's always meddling. He's always in their ear. He's always in the women's ear, to the
Mm-hmm.
point where if it's not directly because of him that they break up,
Mm-hmm.
he's worn them down enough where anything could break them up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like, but back to Victoria, she's not like she can't even go to work. without him. Like she's supposed to be the CEO of this company,
Mm-hmm.
and then Victor is still trying to make all the decisions.
Yeah. And then throwing in her face when he can, that's his company and not hers.
Right.
Like, now I will admit he did read her when she was talking about, oh, you just want to throw Adam a company and whatever else and just hand it to him. And he was like, don't forget that this is my company, that job running. And I was like, oh, I said, baby, I would have shut my mouth right then and there. I wouldn't have said nothing else.
Right. But there was only going to be so many times you want to say that this is your company before I tell you to come back and run it.
See, okay. Now, the thing about that is Victoria would never do that. I really don't think she would ever go that far because she thinks that
No.
company is her birthright and her birthright alone. And I don't think she would
Yeah.
ever go that far.
No. She wouldn't even bluff
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how are you
Yeah.
feeling about her and Nate?
Uh, I think it's a fine affair. I don't expect them to be lasting. Uh, but now there's rumblings about Nate having his agenda with her, trying to take the company. I don't know how true that's gonna be. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of hope it's not. I don't need another man betraying
Yeah.
Victoria, especially so soon after Ashland.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't expect it to be some serious relationship.
Oh no. God no. And
But
mm,
the only thing I hate is that like it wasn't a full blown out affair before they got caught.
yeah, yes, absolutely. Sneaking around and all that. But the thing
Uh,
is, I think part of the reason that they just went ahead and did it was, let me just speak from my personal. I am not invested in Nate and Elena as a couple. Like,
no.
if this had been like she was having an affair with Michael, that'd be a completely different scenario. Because it's like we are invested in Lauren and Michael. They have been married for like what, 18 years at this point?
Yeah.
And if she were fooling around with Michael, baby, there will be some consequences to be had. Like, listen,
Yeah.
everything will blow up. But with it being Nate and Elena, I think number one, Nate and Elena are such a new couple anyway. But then on top of that,
Hmm.
they're not exactly the most exciting couple. Yeah, I think that's
Right.
they just went ahead and did it. They were like, let's just go ahead and get this woman the storyline.
Yeah. I mean, cause before then, what was Delaney even doing? Nothing.
On a podcast and cooking pastries.
And when they brought up the podcast, when Nate had quit Chancellor Winters, I was like, oh, podcast. And I
Mm-hmm.
had to think, oh, she did. Yeah, because everyone was doing podcasts, Billy and Chelsea and whoever else. But like, I had forgot all about that because she's just there. And I like her in her scenes with Mariah and Tessa. And so it's like she can be exciting, if they give her something to do, but like her and Nate
Mm-hmm.
just didn't work. Like they weren't set up to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause they were so opposed, like just about on everything.
Yeah.
And I remember someone making the point that she was better with Devon because they have like the same outlook on life, the same values.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like even they were kind of similar, like it would have worked better between the two of them. Like they
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be as bad as Hope and Liam.
Yeah.
Although well Devon he don't mind getting down and dirty. And he definitely don't mind cheating. So he could
Okay.
generate his own conflict. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where it's like they were running full speed to make sure they could put him back with Michelle Morgan. Like you could tell that was the whole reason. There was nothing else they
Yeah,
were trying to do. Baby, they were running trying to make sure that the two of them got were in scenes together. And then look how that turned out.
right. Devon and Amanda, yeah, didn't work for me at all.
No, no.
'Cause,
They're one of those couples that the magic between the actors had kind of dimmed a little bit, and they could have just let
yeah,
it go because it was like,
yeah.
what are we doing here?
And part of the magic of Devon and Hillary was their history,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
and some of the chemistry that they generated came from the story. To be honest, more than like the character, than the actors themselves.
Mm-hmm. They genuinely felt like they had overcome stuff to be together. So
Right. And like they hated each other, and a lot of their hate kind of generated a lot of passion. And so just him being with Amanda, it just wasn't the same. And like I like, well, I can't say I like because I really don't even remember him and Elena. It's been so long.
it has.
But him and Elena couldn't have been worse than Elena and Nate.
Elena and Nate, they just I hope they keep them apart. I hope it's done because my God in heaven, I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
so good because they need to let that go.
Yeah. Well, they might as well test Elena out uh with Chance. Cause
Yeah,
he seemed to be having chemistry with all the women
yeah.
that they test him with, and I don't understand why they not pouncing on it.
I'm just I wish they would go ahead and make him a ladies man, but I if it gives Sharon something to do, okay, I'm fine.
And like I'm fine with him and Sharon because one, they do have some good chemistry, and two, like I don't see it being serious for either of them.
No, they're you can tell they're saving her for Nicholas, and let's just
Uh,
go ahead and put them back together and move on. My God, in heaven,
yes.
we can be done with this Sally storyline, please.
Oh my good. Well, we might as well discuss that. First of all, why does it feel like Sally has been pregnant for 5 years? Like I was about to say she needs to go on and hurry up and have that baby, but really at this point, she needs to lose that baby.
Oh, not losing. But you're right. I mean, because it's like they keep and then they keep going back and forth between what they want her and Adam to be. One minute they're really enjoying the fact that she's pregnant and they're, so happy with each other and they're looking at sonograms. And now they're standing around in the coffee shop with her telling him, you need to stop telling me you love me. You need to stop this and that. And I'm like, okay, so are y'all getting along or are you not? Because now I'm confused.
Right? Like I could buy this relationship more if one of them just seemed happy some of the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like Nick and Sally, it's like it's like someone has died every time they talk about each other or sharing the scene with each other. Like
Mm,
at least pretend like you want to be together.
like, please, please. I mean, it's ridiculous at
Like
this point.
it's so like this whole storyline is so melancholy. The only one who's even excited about this baby is Adam.
Hmm. Well, they keep linking Sally's happiness to it because she's clearly happy about it, but they keep linking her happiness to Nick, which is the
Yeah,
problem and why it feels like she's going in between emotions because she stops herself from being happy so she can make Nick happy.
right. Yeah, and it comes off that she's sad every time she talks about the baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's either that or she's talking about what could go wrong with the baby.
Mm-hmm.
or she's not going to be a good mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's and so it's really makes it seem like she doesn't want this baby at all, and it's like, why didn't you just get an abortion if she's gonna act this way?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes zero sense whatsoever. But I think that's because the show is over investing in Nick and Sally, and they're trying to make it seem
Hmm.
like they're the next big super couple, and nobody cares.
Right.
Like
And,
nobody
and
cares.
and like given the writing and given the acting, I don't know if it's acting choices or directing choices, but just the way they interact with each other, you just don't get that this is the couple that you're supposed to be rooting for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's a problem a lot with soaps these days is whenever they try to do the triangle, they make it so clear the couple that they're rooting that they're going to write as end game because
Mm-hmm.
the other branch of the triangle is they make it so like forced like either one or both of them don't want to be in a relationship but they're like doing it out of obligation. And
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I don't want that. I want two people who are in love with each other. And
Mm-hmm.
then comes this third person that has one of them like questioning their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's just like, yeah, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
I like you. We don't really have anything in common, but we're together. We're gonna do this. But
Yeah.
then, but I'm pining for such and such.
Yep. Because
Like,
this
no,
this whole thing worked when they did it with Nick and Phyllis simply because he had history with Sharon, he had a family with Sharon. There was a reason for us to
right?
feel that tug and pull, but with Sally, it's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
So, well, that makes me wonder, speaking of pregnancies, how is your girl Nicole doing on Days of Our Lives?
Oh my goodness. And that's also who I was thinking about with the triangle thing,
Mm,
although now it's like a quad.
yeah.
Uh but I see it more with Nicole than with Eric. Nicole, ever since they decided that even though they broke them up, ever since they decided they were gonna get back together, they just have Nicole just sleepwalking through her relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And then just pine away for Eric.
Yeah.
And even with her and EJ now, like this, like it could be a really good relationship. Like from EJ's side, like he's giving it his all, but Nicole is just she doesn't seem to be into it.
Yeah.
It just she's thinking always find some way to think about Eric, and now
Mm.
she's pregnant. And she's like the fact that they thought it was menopause.
It's
That's a
so
sign that we shouldn't be doing this story.
exactly, exactly. And my thing is, let her and Eric be together. We have been doing this for years. Let her and Eric just be together and move on at this point because I don't understand the need to like take a happy couple that, they've been pining for each other for years and now they're finally together. I don't understand the point in immediately breaking them up. I just don't understand
Right.
the trend. It's so weird to me.
Yeah, they're too old. And like they should be able to communicate.
Yeah.
But you know what? Especially like at this point, it's like, Eric, you know the kind of person I am. You know Saint yourself. We hurt each other. I ain't the first time. Might not be the last time.
Hmm.
But we still got the hots for each other, still love each other. Let's
Hmm.
make it work. Or one of us needs to move out of this town. We because we don't have no children together.
That
We
part.
need so we need to make a complete break because we obviously can't be around each other
Mm-hmm.
if we're not going to get together, but we still going to pine for each other.
That part.
Uh, Sarah at least had the good sense to move away from Xander.
She said, "Baby, listen, I'm finna put some distance between us because I'm not doing this anymore." And I feel like, and this is no shade, I feel like the only person Nicole has ever had like really good chemistry with. I mean, obviously she's had good chemistry with Eric and with the EJ, whatever iteration you choose. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just feel like Sammy is her person. Like Nicole is always at her best when she has someone to spar with, especially Sammy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But and and this actually brings me to my next point where like they break Eric and Nicole up so much, but and bringing them back together. But now they kind of gotten to the point where Eric and Nicole are better with other people because like now I like Eric and Sloane and EJ and Nicole better than I like Eric and Nicole.
Mm-hmm. 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 And
And and they did, and I was just gonna say that they did that to themselves because they broke the two of them up and put them with better people.
yeah, yeah, and that's an unintended consequence of constantly breaking a couple up and putting them with other people is you give us a chance to see, okay, so they can stand on their own 2 feet without their person, or they can do well with another individual outside of this relationship.
Sure, right. And I like them better
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I haven't liked Eric this much since he came back.
Yeah.
He's finally like got a personality.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just love Nicole. They either need to write Nicole off or you know figure something out
Or
because
yeah, it
mm,
they need to pick who she's going to be with, and that's
mm,
it. Or have her be alone,
mm,
or like you said, write her off. But yeah, it's got to stop.
yeah.
And I feel so bad because I think it was one day last week where she was talking to Anna and they was bringing up her infertility issues.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was some really good stuff, but it's like, it's hard to, it's hard to connect with that when Nicole, has a child,
Mm-hmm.
hasn't really expressed interest, or at least recently, about her wanting more children.
Yeah.
And she's at the age where,
Yeah.
like, let's be honest, like, those childbearing days were coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, like the fertility issues of someone who's about to enter into menopause
Mm-hmm.
isn't exactly compelling storytelling. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If this had happened a few years ago, then yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, cause like the woman was on birth control
Yeah.
and and like she said that part of the reason, was that she didn't think that she would be able to carry it to term.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
It's kind of like Nina on General Hospital and how they keep throwing children at her, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, at a certain point. Like at a certain point we need to let this, I get it, but it's like we can't keep throwing children at people as a story. Like let's stop.
yeah. But I also think they now at this point, I think they want to keep her in Carly's orbit. I,
Oh,
I think
definitely.
they like the friction
Hmm.
because otherwise there was no reason for Willow to be her child.
Nope, none at all. None at all. And that means Michael has now procreated with not only both of her daughters, but a set of twins. And it's just like,
Yes, right.
do we really, really need that?
And yeah, and now, uh, unless he's like his dad, if they keep Michael and Willow together forever, or at least until he stops having children, that means all of his children
Mhm.
are gonna be Nina's grandchildren.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. And I think part of the problem with soap operas now is there's no investment in making people super couples, and so none of them feel permanent. Michael,
Right.
I am going to say for me, and someone else may disagree, and they may be able to kind of think of somebody. Michael has never had a relationship to me that felt like super couple status. Like there's never been anyone that I can go back and think like, dang, I hate Michael lost this one because that was the one. There's no one I think of like that with him.
Yeah. And well, part of it, like I said earlier, he's not exactly a romantic lead.
He is not.
And
He is not.
yeah, and then yeah, well, that's really most of it.
Yeah.
But a lot of time, and it kind of feeds into it because let's say he's never really been in a relationship long enough for
Hmm.
it to gain traction as a super couple. But that's because uh like no one's gonna have that chemistry with Chad that they're gonna be viable long term.
Hmm. 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 Absolutely. Because even like Morgan and Kiki seemed like they were on the way to super couple status. Morgan
Right.
and Ava could have low key could have been super couple
Right.
status. And it's like Michael just flops every time he gets with a woman. It's like I forgot completely that him and Sabrina were together at one point and that she thought the baby was his. I had completely
Right.
forgotten about that.
Right. Someone brought it up recently and I was like, right, they were together.
Yep. And I was like, Michael is just a mess of a character, and it's time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how Bold and the
It's
Beautiful to let go of the dream of Zende. I'm sorry, love him down. Zende does not need to be on the canvas anymore. I don't care who when Rome Flynn played him, I think he did a really good job at it, and I think that was the last time that Zende had a story. I think at this point, it's okay to let it go.
so and my problem with Zende is my problem already with RJ. You're
Mm,
bringing these characters back, but they don't have any peers. There's no place for them on this canvas.
nope.
Like, why are you bringing art? Well, I know why they brought him back to Parent Trap to get Ridge and Brooke back together.
Hmm.
But other than that, there's nothing for him to do because there's no one for him to interact with.
Nope.
And
Nope.
that's the same with Zende. There's no one for him to interact with.
Hmm. Exactly. Anytime they're trying to create this drama between RJ and Thomas is like 10 years older than him. I mean, it's literally because they have nothing else for him to do.
Right. Like, cause realistically, like Thomas would respect his brother's opinion about what he did to his mom, but he wouldn't lose sleep over it.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Like, cause RJ's not like someone, let's be honest, that he's close to.
No. No.
Cause the age gap and RJ being gone for, for the last few years. But
Mm.
so RJ having stories with Thomas isn't that's not gonna be exciting because and like because they're not gonna fight over the same girl because that would be like what because first of all it can't be Hope
No. I
and
pray to God it's not.
and two like what's gonna be a woman that's gonna fit both as RJ's love interest and Thomas's.
Mm-hmm. 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 Like
But
I think the only way, because they kind of did the Thomas Paris thing. First
hmm
off, she looks like a little girl compared to him. I'm sorry, and
yeah,
it just it that would be so strange because it would just be like Thomas is going after his little brother's high school love. It just
yeah, and but now, see- and now RJ and Paris wouldn't even work because although she looks young, but between her being with Zende, Thomas, well, she wasn't really with Thomas, but they was flirting,
Mhm.
and Carter, even though she looks young, she now codes as older.
Yeah, yeah, and it would definitely feel like why they putting her with this little boy? Why are they
Right.
whatever? And then whose sister is she? She's whose sister?
She's Zoe's sister.
Okay, because like God, I forgot all about Zoe. Like literally, I could
I
not
had to,
remember how this girl was connected to the show
yeah, I had to rack my brain to come up with Zoe's name.
because I knew she wasn't Maya's sister, and I was sitting there like, what is that girl's? Who is this girl's family? But anyway,
Yeah. And it's wild, because what you call sister, she was introduced because he was a Buckingham, the London boy, the
uh,
boy who came from London. He had an accent. He was with Emma, the girl who
oh,
ran off the
him,
road.
yeah,
Yeah.
him, uh, uh,
He was a Buckingham. No, no,
yeah,
that's not the Buckingham. Maya, the
yeah.
Avant. He was an Avant.
Oh God, I can't remember his name.
Zoe,
Mm-hmm.
Zoe, and Paris are Buckinghams. But yeah, I can't think of his name. But yeah, he was an Avant. Came to town, to be with the family. I think he was a photographer. And Zoe came to town because she was his ex,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and then they got rid of all the Avants.
They sure did. God, until
And
you said that, I did not even remember him.
yeah, I had forgot about him until, we started talking about why Paris is on the show and then Zoe, and it got me to thinking, why is Zoe on the show? Because she don't have no connection. And then I remembered that it was him.
Hmm.
He
Because
came to town.
wasn't Zoe initially British and then they just decided she wasn't anymore?
Yeah, because she followed him from over there and she spoke with a British accent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and she was obsessed with him.
Because around the time that they did the baby switch, that's when she started speaking with an with an American accent. And I was like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
we just said we're gonna leave that alone, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, because she had to speak with a British accent because the actor, I think he said that he spoke with a British accent for like some random reason,
Mm-hmm.
and and so because he was British, she had to be British.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I guess they said that since they was getting rid of him, there was really no reason for her to be British anymore.
Yeah, they
It's,
said, baby, let that go. They said, let it.
especially especially if they're gonna introduce more of her family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And wow, and they brought in Paris, and then Zoe left
Mm-hmm.
and broke the ties to the Avants.
Yeah, because child, it was time to let them go. Because once they got rid of Maya, it was like you could tell they didn't really know what else to do with everybody else,
Right,
and it was like, yeah, it's time to get them on up out of here.
because when Papa Avant was trying to take Lizzie away from Maya, saying
Mm-hmm.
that because what's the girl? Is her name Nicole?
Nicole, yeah.
Yeah, it's because Nicole carried him, and and it was her egg that was rightfully
Mm-hmm.
her daughter. I was like, okay, it's time for him to sit down.
Yeah, it's time for us to let this go because this is too much.
But they could at least bring him around for the Christmas party.
Yeah,
Let me, cause that cause that piano is looking skimpy these days.
exactly. Like it's time to, let's deck some halls, child.
Yeah, the Forester party is supposed to be full and vibrant.
And it is not.
You got the Logans and and Ridge and Douglas.
Hmm. And that's about
Uh,
it, unfortunately.
Steffi don't even come over no more.
Steffi be at her house with her husband and her children. She said, "Baby, listen, I got other things to do."
Bridget is down at the hospital. Don't come over. Like you down the street and don't come over.
And
But
don't,
when you
yes.
got Brooke there, so she ain't coming.
She said, "Nah, baby, I'm good." She said, "I'm good. I'm gonna leave that where it's at."
I Nothing brings me joy like knowing that Brooke is not Brooke. Bridget is in town working at the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't come around Brooke.
And she said, "Listen, I don't want to come around that hussy. I'm good. I'm gonna stay up over here."
Because everyone else done forgave and forgot for that for what she did to Bridget. But Bridget was like, I might say I forgive you, but I ain't coming around
I'm not
because if I come around, we have to play nice. But
exactly, and I'm not doing that.
although now Hope, it seemed like we, some of her issues about the whole thing finally starting to surface,
That
which it
is.
should. Because like even though she didn't like she's completely innocent, there has to the fact that you are a product of your mother's affair with your sister's husband,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
has to have some kind of psychological effect on you.
Yes, some kind of something. It's got to. There's no way to get around it.
Like even if your brain tells you that you and your soul tells you that you know that you're the innocent party, that there's nothing you can do, it still has to have some kind of effect on you
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you are that reminder of like the worst moment in your sister's life.
Yep. Exactly. And every time she looks at you, she remembers that pain.
Right.
Well, y'all, I think we have more than covered our fair share of story and adventure.
Just,
So
yeah.
I think we can go ahead and wrap this one up and call it one for the books. All right, y'all. So we are going to close out for the week. And it was fun talking to y'all. It was fun having this discussion. I can't wait till next time.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll
So
be back again. Episode 3.
episode 3. So until
Family.
uh-huh.
You
Oh,
know, at
yes.
the
Okay.
beginning of this ongoing fight with Mr. Victor.
Oh
Mostly,
yes.
I just want to see Prue get her
Oh,
bed
yeah.
together. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, next week is next episode is that. Oh, I can't wait.
Uh,
Ooh, I can't wait. And y'all, why be normal when you can be special? Y'all have a good one.